Hello, everyone. Welcome back to I See Melanie. Today we're going to talk about the new show called All's Fair on Hulu or Disney Plus here in Canada. So let's get into it. But before we do, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, hype up the video so more people can see it within the first 7 days of publishing. And let's get into it. So, All's Fair. I heard about the concept of this show a while back, and then last week I saw that it came out, and of course, there's tons of people. There are tons of people out there talking about this show. You can't turn on social media without hearing somebody talk about the show. We know that it stars Kim Kardashian, a non-actress, acting alongside some of the greats like Naomi Watts, Niecy Nash, Glenn Close, Sarah Paulson, Tiana Taylor, and Kim Kardashian is the central actress. And so, of course, with anything Kim Kardashian does, there's always a lot of talk about it. Oftentimes, negative talk, little trash talk. And, sometimes some trash talk is warranted. So, anyway, yeah, I had no plans on watching the show, but I saw so many things. I'm like, let me check this out because I assumed it was going to be a bit of a train wreck. And I admit sometimes I like watching shows that are train wrecks. About 2.5 years ago, I watched The Idol with The Weeknd. The Weeknd's a hometown boy, a Toronto boy. So I feel a degree of, affinity towards him, but he cannot act. And it was kind of fun watching him fail so miserably. And I guess it's kind of interesting too because he's so talented in another fields within the entertainment industry, but acting really isn't his thing. So it was just very comical watching him. So yeah, I like watching train wrecks, and that is why I am watching All's Fair. So let's talk about Ryan Murphy. So over the past 16 years, I have watched several Ryan Murphy productions, whether he produced them, wrote them, directed them. I have watched them all. Well, not all of them, a lot of them. So Glee, obviously, I start off with that. I watched, what else? I watched Pose. I love Pose. Love Pose. I watched all the monsters. The first one was bad subject matter, but it was well done. The second one was a joke, and the last one was a chore to watch. And I love Charlie Hunnam, but that was a real slog to get through. What else? The movie Hollywood, Boys in the Band, The Normal Heart. I thoroughly loved that movie from about 10 years ago. That's very, very good. It's an excellent movie. And I watched The Watcher. I was going through like his list of work. I didn't actually know he did The Watcher. I watched that a couple years ago. It was okay. He is kind of a mixed bag. I'd say on the whole, he's very talented, but I say his more recent things have been very hit or miss for me personally. Like again, that Charlie Hunnam, Ed Gein Monsters TV show, I was like, I didn't know if I would be able to get through all 10 episodes. It was very, very hard. He took way too many swings, I think. He took too many liberties. I didn't think it was well done at all. So, yes. I'd say Ryan Murphy's things are a mixed bag in terms of whether they're good or not. And I'd say as of late, the later things have been, kind of a hit or miss. So, when I heard that this show was coming out, he was doing it, and that Kim Kardashian was going to be in it, I had zero hopes for it. So, as I mentioned, Kim Kardashian is the main star of this show, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions on her, either good or bad. My opinion is that I am not a fan. I just don't care about she and her sisters and her mom. I like my stars to have some type of talent that I can appreciate if they're a good actor, if they're a good writer, if they're a good singer, a good musician or whatever. Like they need to have something for me to glom onto to like them. And she's not any of those things, but she's very popular obviously, so I hear about her all the time. Like I don't think I can turn on my phone and just go about surfing the internet or go on Twitter or go on Instagram without seeing either Kim, her mom, or her sisters. And there are so many things I have learned about them against my will. Like I turn on my phone, I have an Apple phone. You know, you see like the news at the when you sign on, it's right there. I see things about she and her sisters and about like their habits and like all these like things like I just don't care about, like I don't want to see these things. So I really hate how in your face they are because I feel like I can't get away from them. And again, they don't have anything that I like that I'm going to consume because I don't watch their reality show. I will never buy any of their clothes or their makeup or anything they have to offer because I just don't want to. They don't do anything for me. You know, Kim is going to be fine without any kind of support from me. She is a billionaire. She doesn't care about Miss IC Melanie, so like whatever is fine. And I'm sure a lot of you guys like her, and of course you're totally free to do that. You can like whoever you like. It's such when you say things like that, you can like whoever you like. It's like obviously, but you know you get the idea of what I'm saying. That there are different celebrities for different people. That's fine. But with Kim, even though I don't want to have anything to do with her, I guess other than watching this TV show, I'm not one of those people who will just go on the internet or come on YouTube and say, "Oh my God, I hate Kim K. I hate Kim K." Like I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that at all because that's not productive. That's not really fun to rant about somebody like that. I don't really think so, and I don't have the time to do all that. So, with that said, okay, let's talk about her on this show. So, we know she is not an actress. She's never been an actress. And it shows. You know, she is very flat. And I understand at points her character is a bit even keeled. But the acting is just very one note. And, you know, I can understand her as a lawyer being even tempered and a bit stoic. But when she's dealing with things in her personal life, Laura, she reacts to it like it's nothing. Like when her husband told her he wanted a divorce and she said, "What are you talking about?" She's acting like somebody, I don't know, rearranged her closet and she couldn't find a red shirt she wanted to wear, or somebody, I don't know, for her maid or her servant forgot to get some caviar before she was having a dinner party or something, right? Not, "Oh, my husband, he wants to leave me." You know, it's weird. And I just don't think she can compare to her castmates. Glenn Close, Naomi Watts, Niecy Nash, Sarah Paulson. No, she just doesn't stack up. And that is okay. I can understand, you know, I guess Ryan Murphy likes her or whatever. You can put her in the show. You can even make her one of the main stars, but don't make her the central star because she doesn't have it. You know, and when I saw the credits and I saw her name and her mom's names as executive producers, I'm like, oh my gosh, they have their hands in everything. You know, some things they just aren't going to be good at. But that being said, I have something that might be a bit of a hot take. You know, as poor as her acting is, I don't think she's horrible. I don't think she's horrible. I think The Weeknd is much worse. I think that if she studied acting, you know, like she should have been studying for that law exam, that the bar exam, she could be something in a few years. You know, she's not going to be a Glenn Close or anything like that, but I think she has the ability to do it. She just needs to hone her skill more and maybe not be the star of a TV show, the main star of a TV show. Not yet. And another thing that might sound like I'm defending her performance is that I think her direction could have been better. Or Ryan Murphy, or whoever is the director, I can't remember who's the exact director, but they could have yelled cut and done it a few times, you know? Because there are some reactions she has, and I'm like, this is not the reaction to have. Or sometimes they cut away before you could see a reaction. Like when they zoom into her face, when the girls come in after they find out that her husband's leaving her, she doesn't really get the chance to emote, and what she does show is not really what you would expect a woman who appears to have been crying because her face is all red and like damp. They didn't really show what her reaction was, and I think that they did that because they weren't getting good reactions from her because she's not a great actress. So, yeah, she needs to work on that. But I guess when you're Kim Kardashian and you can just bulldoze your way through anything, you get to be the star of a show. Now let's talk about the show itself and the overall premise. So this is very girl boss, like literally women doing it for themselves, women doing it on their own, women doing it for other women, and all that, which is all cool in concept for the show and in reality, in life. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Of course, I'm not going to say women can't do things. Of course, they can do anything they want. But my question is, in 2025, this theme, does this resonate with the audience? Who is this for? Now, what do I mean? Okay, so with the cast, we've got Kim Kardashian, or Alora, who's in her early to mid 40s. We've got Niecy Nash, Emerald, and Naomi Watts' character, who I always forget her name. They're in their 50s. And we've got Glenn Close in her 70s. Tiana Taylor's there as well. She's in her 30s, but she's not really a main character in the show. So it's the lawyers. So yeah, 40s to 70s. So I would assume, I could be wrong, but I would assume that the target of this show are women in their 40s, maybe, 35-ish, and in their 50s, maybe 60s. I know Glenn Close, as I said, in her 70s, but I don't think the show's really targeting the 70-year-old crowd so much. So it's targeting like the 40s, 50s age. So in 2025, though, is this what we want? And I'm a woman in her 40s. I'm a little bit younger than Kim Kardashian. So whenever I watch an episode of this show, so I've watched the first 4, almost every episode takes me back to 2012. And it reminds me of an article that came out in The Atlantic in the summertime or springtime called either Can Women Have It All or Why Women Can't Have It All. I'll put a link or a little screenshot of it up here. But that was a big article that came out in 2012, and I read it back then, and I can't remember all the details. But basically, that story or that article was talking about, women and can they have the career and progress up the ladder at the job and have a family life, have kids, have a social life, have their own life where they can do their own hobbies. And I'm guessing that the premise of that article is that they'd have to pick and choose. They can't have it all. So I wonder what that author is doing these days. I haven't really heard much from her. I can't remember her name, but yeah, so that was the idea. And that was in the zeitgeist a lot back in the day, that whole topic. And then when, 2017 comes around, the Me Too movement becomes very prominent. And of course, women of any time frame or any age do not need to be harassed by these men. And these men, I should say, shouldn't be harassing these women. So with that, I would say somebody my age, again, early 40s, I see all this and I think back to an earlier time. But I think to myself, if there's somebody who's 30 now, does the premise of the show really grab them? Especially when it comes to the whole work-life balance type of thing and women doing it for themselves. I don't know. I personally, again, I'm not a 30-year-old, so I don't know. But I would think that we're kind of past that in a way. And I'm not saying that sexism and all those things don't exist anymore, because they obviously do. But in terms of having it all, for one, I think these days a lot of young people aren't necessarily worried about progressing up the career ladder and or having children, having a full life in that regard. I think a lot of people these days are wondering, why are prices so high? Can I afford to pay down my student loans, or should I even go to school, because how would I pay all these loans down? Or having a kid is so expensive. Childcare, and of course, raising the kid and feeding the kid and getting a house to put the kid in. I feel as though for people who are kind of looking for a bit of inspiration per se from a TV show, if you're not a rich person where, it doesn't really matter. If you're just a regular person, a regular young person, are you thinking about all these things? Isn't this a little passé? And aren't you worried about other logistics in life? more so than the girl power type of movement. Does that make any sense? I was a bit long winded, but to me, again, I don't think, I think if this show came out 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, it would capture the spirit of everybody more than they do now, because it just kind of feels a little stale to me. And with this, yeah, like, women doing it on their own, like Emerald, for example, she had her kids on her own because she didn't need a man to do it. She didn't want a man to do it. And, I am not one of those people who are like, oh, what about men's feelings or whatever? It's like, that is not, men are fine. They'll manage. I'm not thinking about men's rights and men's feelings and stuff like that, whatever. So yeah, so I guess for me, if I'm thinking that the main target is women in their 40s and 50s, like, we're kind of over that movement, because I think that we've recognized the importance of, careers and families and what combination we want. And, in this economy, in this wild job market and so on, just doing what you can to get through and, take care of your kids if you have them. But yeah, like, to me, when I see this, yeah, I just feel as though it's very dated and very passe. And I just don't think the kids, anyone in their 30s or younger, are kids to me. I don't think the kids really, I don't know, not that they don't care about these things, but they don't care. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I would love to know, because I want to make sure that I'm not living in my own little bubble. I would love to have the perspective of other people who are younger than me and going through a different moment now in 2025 than I did when I was 30 in 2012. Yeah, 2012. Yeah. Another thing, let's talk about the depiction of the black women in the show. So I wrote this script before I watched episode 4. I watched episode 4 yesterday. So when I'm talking about Emerald, I'm talking about her from episodes 1 to 3. So like I mentioned, she is, I can do battle by myself. I'm a strong black woman. I can raise my kids. I can be the mommy and the daddy. I can teach them to play football or baseball, and I can also teach them math and, like the fineries, the fine things in life and all that kind of stuff, right? Nothing wrong with that. But one thing I noticed for the first 3 episodes is that she is the one that's there to instill a lot of confidence in the other women around her, in particular with Kim. And she's always the one to buoy people up, to lift people up. I say boy as in buoyancy, lift. Side note, total tangent here. When I was a kid, those little floaty things you see in the water, we called them buoys because they're short for buoyancy. But I know Americans call them buoys. Buoys, that sounds so ridiculous, but I say buoy for buoyancy. Anyways, she's always there to buoy people up. And there's nobody really doing the same thing for her. Not really, in the first 3 episodes. So she's depicted as a strong black woman who has confidence for days, and she can like shoot up in the veins of other people, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that type of personality in real life or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times in TV shows, you see that depicted all the time, where like the black woman, she's a strong one, she doesn't need any help. And if she is in a bad situation, she is there to lift herself up. And nobody else really needs to do it because she's so strong. In the first 3 episodes, at least. And so I'm like, okay, this is kind of tired, but I guess so. And then we've got Tiana Taylor. Okay. I haven't watched that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio called One Thing After the Other, I think. I haven't watched it yet, so I can't really comment on it. I'll watch it when it comes out on streaming. I can see it in the theaters, but I don't really want to. But I have heard a lot of people talk about it and how her character is depicted as like, just like a sexual being, like the sexual outlet for these men. Again, I haven't seen the movie, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about it. So, okay, let's forget about that movie. But in this show, she is Kim Kardashian's secretary. So she's underneath Kim. Kim treats her pretty nice as a boss. But we see she's having an affair with Kim's husband. Never a smart idea to have an affair with a married man, especially a man who's married to your very powerful boss. Anyway, of course, they have the affair. We learn, of course, later on that Kim finds out and or Laura finds out. And obviously she's mad. She's upset. Well, she's not really even that mad. She's not that emotional about it because she's very flat. But she's upset about it, right? And we see there's some scenes where Tiana Taylor just looks like she's cowering in front of Kim. And again, I understand she feels ashamed because she got caught and she's been discovered to be sleeping with this woman's husband. So she feels bad, but just see, I don't know. I don't really like the look of it. And especially, and also considering the fact that, like, this might be a bit of a meta thing, but, you know, Kim is the reality TV star who can act in this movie. And Tiana Taylor, who is a musician and an actress, and she's, like, kind of cowering to this woman, and she's just a side piece of this man who looks so arrogant. Not really a fan of that. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to have, you know, a black woman in that position in real life or on a TV show. But when you combine all these things together, it's a bit irritating to me personally. I hope I'm explaining myself well. If you understand what I'm saying and you feel the same way, or if you feel the opposite way, please leave a comment and let's start a discussion. I'd say another character in the show is the wardrobe. The clothes are something to behold. Some of the outfits are so fabulous, so lovely, and just exquisite. And other ones are just way over the top. There is a scene where Kim is in the boardroom or the library room, the lunchroom, and she's wearing a skirt, a low skirt that shows her thong, and she just came out of a meeting dressed like that. I'm like, I don't know any lawyer who would dress like that, especially a high-end lawyer in LA. Seriously. So yeah, the outfits are just, they're something else. For the most part, I'd say I like them all. They're very maximalist. They're all very, gosh, I don't even know the words to describe, but they're a lot, let's just say. And some things just don't really work, and or they just don't seem realistic, but this is a TV show. That's fine. But one thing I would say is, as somebody who loves the show Succession, that's one of my favorite shows of all time. They were rich. We all knew they were rich. And they wore very expensive clothes. Now, I understand that they're in New York. They were, you know, mostly men in the family who we saw. Shiv was the only female woman, so, you know, there's only opportunity to see like all these crazy dresses and suits on one person, really. But they exemplified quiet luxury, right? They're wearing high-end clothes that you might not, unless you know these things. And I'm not really up on fashion, but you know, if you know, you know these clothes are super expensive, right? And I am positive the clothes in this show are very expensive too, but they're just very loud and in your face. So again, for a TV show, that's totally fine, but it's a bit much. It's a lot, but I must admit that when I'm watching this show, I am anticipating the next scene to see what outfit or what hairdo they're going to have next, because quite frankly, the outfits, the hairdressing and everything is more interesting than the storylines, which is a sad state for a TV show. Another thing that's kind of missing with this TV show are the cases. So every week they've got a case that they are going to work out, right? But every case is very open and shut. There's not much complexity or ambiguity to any of these situations. Like, okay, yeah, I'm due this much in my divorce, or because we live in this state, I'm entitled to things acquired before or after marriage or whatever. They're all very easy. And as somebody who used to watch Scandal back in the day, oh my gosh, the first few years of that show, I was obsessed. And the first few years of that show, a lot of it was, I think maybe the first year, a lot of it was dealing with situations that happened each week that Olivia was the fixer for. So later on, it became more about the White House stuff. But yeah, the first year, it was more about, okay, the situation came up, what are we going to do to fix the situation? And there was always something that's like, that's a little ambiguous, or is this completely legal, or is this ethical? And there was a lot of back and forth. Like they weren't very open and shut the way these are. So I think one thing they need to do with the writing is if they're going to make a case, central to each episode, they had to make them a bit more interesting. Because right now they're just not, and they're so cartoonish and over the top. I I'm not intrigued by that element of the show. And kind of going back to what I mentioned before about the topic being, geared towards women in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s. And a lot of things are just so cliche. It's like, oh yeah, I went to my doctor and he gave me this new treatment with like PRPs or this needling method or this or that and like little touch up here and a tweak there. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this feels like it's just so formulaic. It's like these women who are, aging or getting older, and all they're thinking about is getting younger. And then you've got the sage, the matriarch, Glenn Close, who mentioned at when sometimes she looks in the mirror and she sees an older woman, but in the inside she feels like a young woman, and feeling good on the inside is what makes her feel good in general, or something to that effect. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so cliche. And once again, thinking about who they're targeting, like maybe some people need to hear it. I also need to keep in mind that not everyone thinks like me. I'm not saying I'm like an advanced thinker or I'm so wise or whatever, because I do a lot of dumb things. Trust me. But I feel as though women in their 40s and over, like, I don't think we need to hear this and take advisement. Like, I don't know. Again, am I being too cynical or critical? I might be. And going back to the girl power, I'm a girl's girl thing, some things are they're just kind of silly. So say, for example, with Tiana Taylor, right? So Kim knows, or Laura knows, that she's having an affair with the husband. And she later finds out that she's pregnant, which was like, oh gosh, do they need to do this? This is so silly. And we see at one point she goes over to the house saying, "Oh, I'm throwing you like this makeshift baby shower." Tiana Taylor, she's skipping rope. Tiana Taylor is fit because she's always fit. Her body is amazing. So she's not showing at all. And so Kim's like, "Oh, I'm buying you a bassinet. Let's set up your house for the baby." It's like she's barely even pregnant at this time. And like, am I to believe that this woman, who is rightfully mad at her employee for sleeping with her husband and getting pregnant by him, and now she's just like, okay, I'm going to be the godmother, kind of like, this whole girl power, girl stick together type of thing, it's way over the top. It's silly. And even that point where they learn that he is sleeping with Hari Neff's character, and because she was I was kind of disappointed with this storyline from Ryan Murphy. Like, okay, because she was a sex worker before and she's trans. Well, she's probably really dirty, so we need to get STD checks now. Which is like, first of all, if he's sleeping with a bunch of people, you should get an STD check regardless. But like, why do they have to like mention, oh, because she's trans and she used to be a sex worker, that, okay, now we need to get a STI test. Like, I thought that was kind of gross. But anyway, speaking of when they actually went for the test, she said, okay, come with me. I'm going to go to the doctor. And this doctor is so good. He's booked up until 2030 or whatever she said. It's like, do you expect me to believe that Tiana, first of all, she can't find a doctor herself to get an STI check? Also, that, that there aren't 1,000 other doctors in LA where anybody can go and get an STI check, seriously, and that she needs to go. And I really hate the way Tiana presented in this scene, because she's like, oh, thank you for getting me a doctor's appointment. Like, you couldn't get one yourself? Come on. That was just really silly. I don't know. It's just insane to me. Like, this is a huge city. There are people getting STDs all the time. The doctors all look. It's not like she was going for some very specialized treatment, like a very particular brain surgeon or whatever. Just going for STDs. Like, you can get STD checks anywhere. And yeah, going back again, I'm all over the place. So yeah, when they're at her house talking after like little makeshift baby shower, and they're talking about how, men are trash. And Tiana's like, F that, F that. And they're all like, yeah, men are garbage. It was just, I don't know, it's kind of silly because, like, it's one, and again, it's not from the perspective of, oh, why are we bashing men? Why are women so mad at men? Like, no, 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 no. Men do a lot of things that are very bashable that women rightfully should be mad at. So it's not a matter of that. It's just that it's, I don't know, to me, it just comes off kind of silly. And it's like, yeah, you're bonding with this woman. You should be very mad at her for a good reason. I don't know. Uh, I don't know. Like, that doesn't appeal to me. Uh, anyway. Okay, so other random things. The husband, I forget his name, Chase, I think his name is. The actor's a good looking guy, but that half up, half down situation looks so bad. And I guess it kind of like makes him look like douchey or whatever. But it also is kind of dated too. It like I remember the whole like man bun situation that was huge back in the mid 2010s. So yeah, the styles, the hairstyles, a little dated. Another thing, if anybody knows the name of the restaurant where Naomi Watts and her boyfriend went, where he proposed to her, it had like different like levels to it. Could you let me know what it is? Because I saw that restaurant in an episode of Law and Order like 4 years ago, and I thought it was such an interesting setup, but I forgot. You know how they always have the address of places before they go into it? I think I forgot to look at it, so I don't know where it is. I know it's in Manhattan, but if you know the name of it, please let me know because I'm sure it's very, very expensive, but I like expensive restaurants sometimes, and I find myself in New York sometimes. So I would love to go because it looks really cool. So if you know the name of it, drop it in the comments section. And the last thing, Hari Neff, who plays Chase's girlfriend, gosh, she is in a show with Kim Kardashian now, and she acted a lot with The Weeknd in The Idol. She must wonder to herself, why? How did I get stuck with these two actors? So that is it. I will be here shortly wearing the same outfit talking about episode 4. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But like the video if you like it, subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of things planned for the rest of the year, so there's a lot of things to see. Put the notification bell on, all that stuff, and I'll see you later here on I See Melanie. Bye.